What's up, Blasianeers and Blasianettes? So we are continuing my review on the previous seasons of The Walking Dead, as we're on hiatus and withdrawal, whatever you want to call it. So we are on season 3. So spoiler warning, there's going to be spoilers. So if you have not watched season 3 or any seasons of The Walking Dead, get off this video. Now, I gotta say, this season really thickened my investment. It really did. I loved how I loved how Rick and the gang were like, well, especially Rick was a brute force, against, this world. The way they would come in and attack zombies like Power Rangers attacking putties. Like it was like nonchalant for them. Them going from place to place to find a safe haven to get to, and they get to this prison and they cleared out the prison like it was nothing. Like, I loved that shit. Like, I just loved how they cleared it out. Like, holy fuck nuts. And you come across these, a couple inmates, like some are good, some are bad, and then what really cracked me up was when one of the inmates got scratched by a walker, and they're like looking at Rick like, "Well, do something! You chopped off that dude's leg." When he saved Herschel and whatnot, he said, "Look where the scratches. I can't save him." And then I think, what was it, Andrew? He was like, "You son of a bitch." And then when Tomas, I guess sort of like the leader of that group, just put down Big Tiny like he was nothing, kept smashing his brains out, and like he was just smashing his brains in, like and then Andrew, he was all quiet, like you give you're getting ready to like just cuss out Rick, for not being able to save Big Tiny, and then Tomas is like, "Oh, we got to put him down." Put him down. And then next thing you know, when Tomas provokes Rick to kill him, and then Andrew's like, "No!" Like, what a fucking pussy. And he was a fucking dick too. And and he tries to retaliate against Rick and everybody else, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I loved how they introduced the governor. Like, I love how they had it felt like two separate stories. Like, where you're like, okay, what's going on at the prison? Woodbury. Prison. Woodbury. And then when it got to where those two worlds, when it came time for those two worlds to meet, I just got chills down my spine. Like, for real. Like when Merle saw Gwen and Maggie and took them back to Woodbury, and Michonne leaves Woodbury and she goes to the prison, and then holy shit. And you see how she feels a little bit more safe at the prison than she does at Woodbury. It's like, the governor's, he's a piece of shit. I know he is. And then with Rick, as cold as he was with her, she feels more comfortable with those people. Like, she sees that they are good people. And holy shit. Like, part of me was even mad at Rick for how he treated Michonne when they for a while in this season. And even though we followed him, we know what he's gone through, we know what he is going through, and I have to remind myself, like, you're being such a dick to Michonne, but I get it. I understand what you're going through. I followed you, like, from since the pilot, so I know what is going on in your head. And man, part of me is disappointed of how they made fun of one of the, how the memes made one of the biggest moments of the season when he discovers that Lori is dead. I mean, like, that is like that's like a big deal. I mean, like, it doesn't hit you like, like, you come across all these memes with, like with him bawling his eyes out, looking at Carl, and then you just see he is in complete despair at that moment, but all these memes just sort of take that effect away. They take away that impact that that is supposed to hit you with. I mean, like for me, it doesn't. I mean, like sometimes, like when I'm watching it with, like, let's say with Lindsay, for example, and then that scene comes up, and then you know you get the giggles, like, oh, like you think of a meme when you see that scene. I mean, like, that's just. I mean, I get it. You know, it's all for shits and giggles. I mean, and I found some of those memes pretty damn funny, but when you're trying to be in that moment, and then you know a lot of crazy shit happen. I mean, like it's just like, ugh. But you know that's just for some people. You know who where that effect just takes, where it's just ripped away from them. I mean, I can get easily sucked back into it, but for some people, you know what I mean. I mean, does anybody agree with me on that? I mean, I'm not saying that the memes aren't funny, but I'm just saying, you know. But yeah, and the build up between Rick and the governor meeting, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for it. Every time it got closer and closer to it, I'm like, come on, make it happen, make it happen. I just loved it. I mean, I loved how you know, they actually faced a real human threat. I mean, they've faced human threats, but this is like their first real human threat they've ever faced, like by far. But and holy shit. And the second half was just like, you know, the governor just like being, you know, just being what Michonne seen, like what Michonne saw inside of him, like he's just like unleashing it on the group, and it's just insane. I mean, physically, mentally, everything. He's just trying. And when he finally does meet Rick, and he tries to manipulate him, and you can tell like it's starting to work a little bit, like where he wants him to turn over Michonne, and it's ridiculous. And when he goes back, when Rick goes back to visit his hometown to, you know, to stock up on, you know, weapons and whatnot, and then he runs into Morgan. That was an awesome episode too, like where you catch up with him. Some people thought he was dead, some think he's still out there, and holy shit. And seeing his despair, you seeing him in his despair, you know, when we first saw him, he was with his son Dwayne, but now because of his you know, cowardliness, of unwillingness to kill his Walker wife, Dwayne is also, you know, he also turned, and I don't even think he put him down too. I was almost expecting to see Dwayne, you know, like Walker Dwayne at some point, but I guess that's never gonna happen. But I don't know. I mean, that's just insane. But you know what? You know, I will say that Andrea's death really hit me, like where like anyone could die and on the show. Like I'm like, okay, I was convinced that she was gonna live on like she does in the comics, but and then you see that she was bit by Walker Milton. I'm like, whoa. I thought she was gonna get out of that trap that the governor, you know, sort of locked her in. Like, wow. I mean, I was almost disappointed with the season finale, because I thought, okay, this is all going to lead up to a big epic showdown, which it never happened. And I'm like, okay, if Rick and the governor don't actually clash, I'm like, I'm going to feel cheated out of this season. But I'm glad. The only thing I'm glad about is that, you know, they left the opening for the governor to make one final return in next season. So I mean, they made up for that. And I gotta say, when Carl shot that kid, you know, that was with the governor, and then Herschel was like, oh my god, he put that kid down, Rick. Did you see the way he was slowly putting his weapon down? He kept walking towards Carl like this, and the way he was lowering his weapon, he could have easily shot Carl's head off, you know, from that angle. If you watch that season finale and you see how he was putting his gun down, like, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Why are you still walking close to Carl, you know, as you're lowering your weapon? You could have went, boom, you know? I mean, like, seriously, I'm on Carl's, you know, I mean, Carl did the right thing. I mean, no, I'm sorry. If you're gonna walk up to me after we said put down your weapon, common sense. Put your weapon down way back here. Don't walk closer to us. I mean, like, seriously. And of course, I gotta mention Merle. I mean, like him, resurfacing. That was also a great dynamic. Like how his character developed in this season, where you're like, oh yeah, he's a piece of shit, and now you're like, oh, but that's Daryl's brother. Like and whatnot. I mean, when the governor kicked him out, and I guess it made it less. They made it, I guess the governor made it a bit easier for us to, I guess, to like him, and for, him to be on the, to be forced to be with Daryl and where the group is. But I think that's pretty, pretty interesting how that worked out. But this whole season overall was fantastic. So it gets 4 chair spins out of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, baby. So feel free to tell me what you thought of this season. Is it like one of the best? Could have been done better? I don't know. Just let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And what did you think of how the governor was portrayed throughout the season? And Michonne was also a great addition to the season. I loved how every time she used her katana on walkers, I loved it. I could watch those scenes over and over and over and over and over again. And man, I mean, this was an intense season. This was Rick at it, like this is what Rick Grimes, like at his core, when he's actually a ruthless leader against anyone who opposes a threat to the group. And man, and anyone who needed to be put down, he had to put them down, and he had to, when he didn't put them down, he had a really damn good reason not to. It just, he was a smart leader. I mean, like, he really is in that role, in that title. He's really sitting on that throne, in this, as a leader, in his leadership, and I loved it. So, and I don't entirely agree with how the season finale ended, but I understand why though. But when they took everybody from Woodbury and then they put them on that bus, I was like, yep, dead. And Tyrese also and Sasha, they were great too. Like how they were first at the prison, and then Rick went batshit crazy and like, oh no, and then he went to Woodbury. I'm like, oh crap, no. And then they eventually find their way back to the prison. So yeah, and I'm glad that Rick did to find a little bit of closure with his grieving point with Lori. I mean, that was a good 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 part of the story too. I mean, I like that, like what it was doing to him, and how you need him to get himself together, and the governor is get ready to attack, and he has to get his shit together. But yeah, like I said, leave your thoughts down below. What you thought of this season. I thought it was great. The season finale could have, I don't know, the season finale was a little disappointing because of what it was building up to, but the mid-season finale of season 4 made up for that. But I'm gonna get to that in my season 4 review. So in the meantime, leave your thoughts, like I said, from there. So if you enjoyed this review, make sure you thumb up the video, and make sure you click subscribe if you're new to the channel. Yeah, quicker. And I'll see you guys in the next video, and well, more like my season 4 review. So I'll see you there, or I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.